This is a Leem Hda44 stereo headphone amp used to amplify a signal coming out of your headphones with four separate outputs and four separate controls for the level on each output, so you can have four people listening individually on four different headphones, all at different level of amplification on each of those headphones. Now the input is here, and you'll need a 1/4 inch headphone jack like that, with both sides having a 1/4 inch headphone jack to connect it on your headphone output on your deck or your amplifier, and connect it with this stereo headphone amp. And the other end goes into your headphones output on your amplifier or your deck or whatever else you're using. The output's also 1/4 inch jack. One small issue I was having with this stereo headphone amp is it didn't come with a power supply unit, and the polarity on the plug is completely different to normal power supplies or usual power supplies. This unit has a negative pin on the inside and a positive on the outside, which is the opposite of what the majority of power supplies are. And someone to me suggested that just to change the polarity on the inside of the box, but it's not that easy, and I'll show you why later. So I ended up modifying the power supply that I did have to test it out. I found it easier to modify the power supply rather than the unit itself, and I'll show you later why. But if I plug that in, the LED comes on and the unit works. The reason I got this is because I wasn't really happy with the sound I was getting from my headphones, and I do have various headphones, these Soul Sound Track Pros, these Bose headphones, and another pair of Soul headphones, as well as these Gold Ring vintage GR104 Japanese headphones, which are looking very vintage, with volume controls on each earpad, and none of them sound really good to my ear, and that's why I got this amplifier. I can hear up to 17,500 megahertz, and none of these headphones that I've just shown you are kind of outstanding in any way. And while some of them are good and some are better than others, and this is the reason why I got this. Now with this, it will go louder, but anything over halfway, if you put it somewhere here, all of these headphones are going to start distorting, and it's not going to make it sound any better. It might make it slightly louder, but that's about it. Interestingly, I've tried some headphones in store, and I did not find them um, any good. I certainly prefer listening through the speakers of a sound system. There's better sound coming out of that than any of these headphones that I've got here. On the underside of the unit, we've got some rubber feet, and would I recommend this to anyone? Well, that would have to be your decision whether you need one or not. but for what I wanted it to do, it does not fulfill its requirements, I guess you could say. Other than that, it's a respectably looking unit and doesn't look overly cheap or anything. It's heavy and yeah, it looks good. It's not plastic or anything, but that's what it is. Let's undo the 4 screws holding the unit together and take a look inside why it's not a good idea to modify the plug itself on the unit to change the polarity if you haven't got the correct power supply. With these 4 screws removed, now you have to remove these 4 nuts holding the sockets. All you need is a 14mm socket to do that, and they're not done up pretty tight. You can do that with your fingers. Everything comes apart fairly easily, and it's easy to put back together. You don't actually have to undo the back socket because that's mounting to the floor of the unit, but yeah, it just comes apart, and we can have a peek inside. And looking inside the unit, we can see the sliders and all the components and all the jacks. And in the corner there, that's our power supply socket there on the right hand side there. And that's mounted to the PCB board. And really there's no easy way of reversing the polarity on that without modifying the unit, which is just a bit too hard. So I've decided to modify the power supply to test the unit and go with that. Let's have a look at the underside of the board, and that's looking pretty good too. And I think this unit works as it should. It's just, it is what it is. And here's the power supply, how it's mounted on the PCB board, and there's just no easy way of modifying it. The sliders work freely, they don't need deoxidizing or anything, so there's no problems there. Let's put it back together. And the sliders have to be in the lowest position to get this unit back together. If even one of them's at the top, it won't go back together easily, so they all have to be right at the bottom, like that. So let's put the screws back in and put the unit back together, and then put the nuts on the washers and nuts at the front on the jacks, and that's the unit put back together, unless you lose the nuts and have to do it again. And again, once you do that, just finger tight on the nuts that hold the jacks together to the chassis. And that's done. And like that. And our unit's back together, ready to be used. Thanks for watching, and see you next to the previous video.